Is between Javier Forment and Paula Bruna. Javier comes from the Universitat Politécnica de Valencia, which is the Department of Biotechnology. You run the service of bioinformatics, is the term in English, so computing, of the Institute of Cellular and Molecular Biology of Plants. Is this correct in English? Yes.
Yeah.
And also, so Javier is a proper and serious scientist, but somehow he's also responsible for the artistic residency that's going on there in that institute that you had first edition. Now in the second edition, you run into political difficulties that probably are relevant to discuss also. And then in conversation with Javier, we will have Paula Bruna. Paula, it's one of those rare cases that is both things. She's active as a scientist and trained as a scientist, and active and trained as an artist. She has a long experience and a very original approach to that overlapping of practices and knowledges. So I think you have a lot to contribute. Javier, you have the mic. When you finish your presentation, Paula will join you. Okay.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you, all of you, for being here, and thank you, the organizer, for giving me the opportunity to be here and share stage with so interesting and so great artists that are reference, I think, in the field of art and science communication. And thank you for giving me the opportunity of sharing my short experience in the art and science interaction. I have collaborated with some artists from the scientific point, and I have made my own little and sparse incursion in the creation of art science pieces, mainly the sonifications of genetic sequences. But today I'm going to talk about my work, or my experience in the setting up, coordination, mediation, and outreaching of the scientific and artistic residents in the center where I work. I work in the IBMCP. It's a center for plant biotechnology, and it belongs to, it's a mixed center because it belongs to the CSIC, which is the Spanish Research Council, and the Universitat Politécnica de Valencia, the UPV. Okay, where we are physically located in. In 2021, there was a change in the rector of the university, and the new rector established a new vice-rectorate for arts, science, technology, and society. Okay, and well, I was then already interested in art and science, and I said, okay, that's the opportunity to get the funding for establishing the residence, okay? Because this is the first challenge you have when you want to do an initiative like that, okay? Well, really, it's not the first one. The first one is this: is telling the science why it's important or interesting or convenient to establish an artistic residence in the research center. Why they are going to have an artist messing up in the labs and making crazy things there, okay? Of course, I think that all we know what is the interest. If not, you will not be here, okay? But most scientists don't know it. I remember the first time I talked with scientists commenting the possibility of making an artist residence in the center. They told me, oh, okay, that's nice. So at the end of the day, what we will have is a nice picture in the hall or the meeting room. Okay? Of course, we know that this is not the art-science interaction we are talking about. Okay? It's an extreme case, but there are also other interpretations of art-science interaction that are very extended in the scientific community, and it's not this art-science interaction that we are talking about. Okay, another one is the making of scientific illustrations. Okay, I see a lot of exhibitions or events talking about art and science. For example, art and science, the illustration of Ramón y Cajal. Okay? Well, yes, it's art science, but it's not art science as we are talking about. Okay? Or at least what I'm talking about. I think you also. Another interpretation is the using of art creativity in the making of graphs and figures for scientific papers. Okay, that's good and it's fine, but it's not art-science interaction. There are another interpretations, more not so naive, and they are interesting, although they are not what I'm thinking of. And it's a modern way of doing divulgation of science, a modern, avant-garde, alternative way of doing science communication. That, of course, is a good goal, but it's not what we are talking about. Okay, it's like the scientific monologues. Okay, but instead of using an artist of humor, you use a contemporary artist, right? Okay? But it's not the case again. In fact, this interpretation of bringing this kind of thinking in art-science interaction has the goal of bring science closer to the society. Okay, that is a good goal, and it's mainly the goal that you can use to combine your manager. Well, not your manager. The goal you can use to combine the institutions that can fund your initiative. Right? For example, the Academia Europea. He say we promote scientific dissemination. Okay, so maybe. If you go there, we are going to make scientific communication doing an artistic residence. They can pay, okay? So it's a good thing to know that. And another thing is another objective that most scientists think about the art and science interaction is a way of showing up in mass media. Okay, a way of gaining visibility to the research center in the society. Okay, again, this is a reason you can use to combine not the funding institutions, but the managers of your center. Okay, you go to the manager of your center and say, I want to do an artistic residence, and he say, this for what? Okay, well, if you can sell it with this interpretation. Oh, the center is going to be appearing in mass media, in press, and okay, that's also good, but it's not the main point. Okay, The main point, of course, I'm not going to employ time here, but is the use of the creativity of the artists, okay, to provide new ways of looking to the problems, new ways of looking, new ways of doing, new ways of thinking, okay, and well, we know that is the point, okay. Maybe we can later discuss about this interpretation and why we have to extend this interpretation in the scientists. Well, they are very prone to that when you talk it, okay? Well, so we have already convinced the managers, and they say, okay, let's go. But of course, who's going to pay that? Okay, because the research centers usually don't have a budget for this kind of crazy things. Okay, and at least the public research centers has the money very, very close. You cannot say, well, we have this money here, let's employ in that. No, it's very, very, very controlled. Okay, so you have to find somewhere to pay. Okay, in our case, as I said, we reached this vice-rectorate or Art, Science, Technology and Society, and make the proposal of funding this residence. And of course, they were very happy to know that, and they funded our residence as the first artistic residence in centers of the UPB, the university. Okay, our was the first, and then have continued funding residences in other centers of the university. Okay, but there are more possibilities. The FECID, that is a public institution in Spain that fund a lot of scientific projects. Well, okay. This institution has incorporated specifically the funding of art and science projects in their call for science communication. Okay, so maybe later we can talk about that. There is a growing desire of funding art science projects, but not with the vision of use the art and science way of doing things, but just with the vision of using the art and science as a part of their initiatives of science communication. Okay, it's not bad, but maybe it's not what we would like. Okay, there's there's also private institutions, private foundations, even private companies. They can pay for your residence. Okay, so we had the agreement of the managers of the center. I had the funding for the project, so we start the AE-BKH, that is the program of artist residences at the AE-BKH. For the first edition in 2022, the UPB university, the funding was these amounts, okay, for the artists, for the traveling, boards and lodging, and for the production expenses. For the second edition in 2024, we got the money from the FECID, okay, and also from the Centre del Carmen, that is I think is the homologue of the CCCB here in Barcelona, the CCCC, the Centre del Carmen de Cultura Contemporánea in Valencia, okay. And Well, first you can see the difference on money is here for the artist 3,000, the second for the artist 6,000. The difference is the time duration of the residence. Okay, and this is the first challenge. Another challenge, ¿vale? How long the resident has to be. ¿Vale? In the first, we decided a 3 months residence, but at the end we got the feeling that it was too short. Just when the artist was starting to really get involved in the way of doing scientific work, and just when, and then the residence ended. Okay, so for the second one, we decided, okay, 6 months. But in this case, we received a lot of messages when we did the open call. We received a lot of messages from artists saying, "Oh, 6 months is too long. Can be shorter, because of course maybe 6 months is too long for a person to change all the way of living, of the way." Okay, so this is okay. The next challenge is find the best time for the duration for the resident. Okay, in our case, as I said, we decided 3 months for the first one and 6 months for the second one. And this is okay. Let's go to take an artist, but you have two possibilities to take the artist. Okay, to get the artist, to select the artist. Well, you can select directly one that you love, and one you say, do you know that is the perfect artist for your residence? And you can do an open call. Okay, an open call to artists. Apply with their proposals. Each of them has their benefits or their inconvenience. Okay, a selected artist, if you get it, if the artists agree, you know positively that you have the artist. You know how she works. With the open call, you have a wide range of proposals, and I think, well, I like it more. So I decided to do an open call. Okay, for the first edition, the open call was opened several months. The same for the second edition. And with this opening of the call, it comes the next challenge, that is to disseminate the call. Okay, you have to reach the higher number of artists, because you always have the fear that you have a call and no artists apply for your residence. You have to move a lot your call and disseminate it. And this is not so easy, okay? I am not an expert on communication and community management, but well, I did my best using social networks, using the communication office of the UPB and the CSIC, the FESIC, using the website of the center, and using, yes, I confess, mail bombing, okay? I did a really hard mail bombing, getting mail direction from artists from whatever I can, okay? I'm so sorry for that, but I did it. At the end, we received in the first call 35 applicants, 10 of them from out of Spain. And for the second, 27 applicants now from abroad. I think it's not a bad number, okay? So maybe you can see the difference in the number. Maybe the lower number for the second edition maybe is due to the too long duration of the residence. I don't know, okay? Anyway, with the receiving of these proposals, here it comes the first reward of because until now everything was challenges, and here comes the first reward of the artistic residence. That is learning about so many interesting art science proposals. Okay, reading the proposals was a really pleasure. Well, there was good things and not bad things, but less good things. Okay, but it was a really pleasure. But more than the pleasure, what is important is one of the rewards is of the residents is changing this renaming this reward to opening the science mind to new approaches, new visions, new ways of doing things. Okay, it was it's a very important regard, and I think it's one of the main objectives, the main goals of the art science interaction, of course. Well, we have all the applicants, and then we have to select one of them. For the first residence, the tribunal was people from the UPB on the British Rectorate, and also the then director of the museum, the Centre del Carme, and of course people from the IBMCP, including myself. Please. For the second one, we have the big pleasure to have in the tribunal to experts, recognized experts in the field of fine art and science, are Mónica Bello, Blanca Puchals, and Pau Arsina, okay? And also me and the other people in the museum and the people in the museum was because in the first edition it was where the final exhibition is going to do, okay, to be shown, and in the second one, of course, they are paying part. Okay, so there is another a challenge when you select the artist or the proposal, the project for the residents, what I call closed or open projects. By closed projects, I mean a project that is totally defined. Right? An artist has their projects in mind. He say, I want to do this, using your installation, using your plants, your bacteria, I don't know, or collaborating with your scientists, but doing what I want to do, just this, okay? That's good. For open projects, there are projects that the artist has a more or less clear definition that he want to do, she want to do, but the final project will be decided in collaboration, with interaction with scientists in the center, okay? What, again, there are benefits, are inconveniences. With a closed project, you know exactly what are you going to get. With the open projects, you don't know it. But I think the main point for an artistic residence, not the main point though, the point that we wanted was the interaction, the definition of the projects in collaboration with the scientists. But in order to scientists get involved more in the project. So we decided an open project and more open projects, and it was was very hard, very disgusting for me. To reject some proposals made from artists, very good artists with very good proposals, very good projects, very fantastic, but they are too closer, okay? And it was hard. It was hard. But at the end, we decided for the first edition, select Carlos Castellano. Also, it's a Spanish name. Is from the USA. Is born in the USA. And for the second edition, his project was a kind of project to make plants communicate how they feel with environmental changes. Okay, using artificial intelligence to mediate the. Okay, there's no time here to explain with detail. For the second edition, we select Liang Xiao, that is a Chinese artist, now doing her PhD in Australia. Okay, so we have already the artist selected, so we have to bring her to Valencia and pay the travel tickets and pay the lodging, pay her food and her water. Okay, the air is free by now. Okay, so we need the money. Okay, so this is the next challenge. Oh, sorry. Well, see, the project of the Liang Xiao is no time to describe it. Okay. We need the money. Well, you don't have the money. You have the funding there. Get the funding, okay? You have now the funding. No. The funding is not to have the money. The funding is the promise of giving you the money, okay? Now we need the money, okay? But in the second edition, you remember that the money came from, had to came from the FECID and the Centro del Carmen, but just in this time that we didn't need the money, the change in the color of the government of the Comunitat Valenciana, okay, you know, from left to right, from red, purple to blue, green, okay, caused that the director of the Centro del Carmen was fired. The director that had signed the compromise of funding. And the new director said, no, I don't want to pay that. This is one thing of the previous director, and I don't want to pay that. We tried our best. Well, let's redefine the terms of the collaboration. Let's redefine maybe even the amount of money, or I don't know, whatever you want. No. At the end, they didn't answer our messages. Okay, it was terrible. Of course, we could sue because it was signed, but they were only 10,000 euros. It doesn't pay to sue to a public institution for that money. So we didn't get the money from the museum. We tried with private companies, with other museums, with foundations, public and private foundations. In every case, the answer was always the same. Oh, what a nice project. Nice. But we don't have the money in this short time that you need it. Maybe we can negotiate, and for maybe the next year, because we have to include this money in the budget of the. So we didn't get this money, and what is worse, well, it was the same. The FECID, one of the conditions of the FECID to give their part of the money was that the project was co-funded. Okay, so we didn't get the co-funding, we didn't get this, and we have to cancel the second edition. Okay? So, well, doesn't matter, life goes on, okay? Fortunately, the first edition came, okay? And the artists came to the center, and then the rewards started to grow, okay? First was the extending these rewards that it was for the tribunal, okay? Extending this reward to all the people in the center, okay? By the presentations of the artists in the center with their previous works and the proposal for art for the residency. Also with the conversations between the artists and the IBMC researchers, we arranged conversation of the artists with any of the principal investigators of the centers in order to define the final project to do, okay? And it was a personal reward, okay? It was to realize that the scientists had a lot of interest, okay? All of them were very happy to talk with the artists and try to do the well, not all of them, okay, but most of them, and not all of them maybe is a fail in this first sailing. No? Some of them didn't see the point, okay, but anyway. This another reward was this sense of group coherence. I named it group coherence. I don't know, but the sense of all the center doing participating in a common project and in a unique common project. Okay, because it's quite unique to have artists in the scientific centers. Okay. So it was a lot of people in the center was involved, not only science but also technical people from the greenhouses and technical people from the IT and the more hardwiring things. Okay. Well, at the end, the work was developed, was done, and was exhibited at the Centro del Carmen, the first edition. Remember the first edition, and well, it was for pieces of plants interacting with an environment and emitting different sounds and colors. Okay, and with this exhibition also came these two rewards. No? This is not the more important for me, but it's important, of course. It brings science closer to the society and gain visibility for the Scientific Research Center. Okay, around more than 7,000 visitors to the exhibitions in something more than 2 weeks. Okay, then they appear in press releases of the FESIC and the UPB. Also, the articles in specialized art magazines like Magma, for example. Also, articles in more general magazines. Even an article in a large circulation daily press, the Diario Levante, is in Comunidad Valenciana, is one of the main daily press. And also advertisements and news in the UPB TV channel, and even in the public TV in the Comunidad Valenciana. Okay, it's a huge gaining of visibility for the center appearing in the TV. Okay, not the main goal, but good goal. And also the participation in other art and science events like the one laser talk the Leonardo Laser Talks, okay, and also in the Festival Volumens, that is one of the festivals of art, science, and technology in Valencia for several years. At the end, what we had and what our manager were very happy to was because the IBMC was gaining visibility in the society. Okay, it's not the main goal, but it's one goal. But again, the final challenge is disseminate this development and the result of the residency. Okay, we appear in some journals and in the TV and some articles. Okay, but I'm not an expert on communication. I have no the contact with the journalists. I did my best, but of course it's not the best that can be done. Okay, maybe a good advice for setting an artist in residence is to hire a community manager or to hire a company expert on communication, okay, in order to get more visibility. Okay, so at the end you can see that there are more challenges than rewards. I hope that this was not discouraging you of setting up an artist in residence, because the rewards are very, very important. And the challenges, well, life is so, okay? Also, there is left the last reward I didn't mention. Well, the one reward I didn't mention is the opportunity of being here, okay? But the last reward, and I think it really is truly the most important, is the Llort, okay? It's enjoyable, it's fun, it's fantastic, okay? So you know, enjoy what you do and everything will be fine. Thank you very much. Como antes, ¿no?
Try, because I think we could have like a very long conversation.
We have to get everything there, so we don't
Now?
have nothing.
Sí. Okay, just let us know if it's. But thank you. It was very interesting. I also think it's very interesting your approach, and as you said, it's not so often like from scientists having this approach of understanding artistic collaboration, not just as a dissemination tool, which I agree that for that would be much better like a social communicator than us. So I agree with you that this should be like, or at least I am more interested in an exchange, not just like, I mean, also it's interesting, no, to get like information with which you can work with, but I feel more interested, and I guess that you do, about this exchange, no? And for me, I would say, I don't know if you agree, but it's kind of, as an artist, I can gain like a solid basis, which is from scientists, and as an artist, I can also offer to scientists like to free them from scientific methods in terms of emotions, subjectivity, or poetry that might not, that are outside of the scientific method, no? Or also like intuition or creativity that might be inside, but they are hidden, no? In in the scientific
The
process.
first reward, remember the openness of the scientist's mind.
Yes.
Is one of the first reward we get from the artist.
Exactly.
Okay.
No, in my case, since I am both of them, I can say that it's not that I am both of them. I am one, and in fact, it's all that it's in both of us. No, I mean, it's not that we are like. I think that this thing of the artist role and the scientist role, it's very interesting to put them together, but it's kind of tricky to keep like this separation. No? So in this case, I agree in your point of view, and I would like to ask you, like, in which way this experience of the artistic research has changed your methodology or your work or your perspective, or how do you think it has changed to you as a scientist?
Well, if you refer to the artistic residence, I didn't collaborate with the artists. Okay, I was the coordinator, but at the end, the artists collaborated with different researchers, with 4 or 5 groups of research groups. And well, I don't know how he changed their mind. Okay, my mind. I can speak about my own experience collaborating with artists. Okay, out of the residence, I collaborated with some artists, and of course, is what you say. You open your mind. Okay, in science, you are very constrained for a lot of things. Okay, because of course you have to. The plane has to fly. Okay, so but there are other things apart of the plane flying. Okay, and most of the time the scientists. We focus on the plane flying, okay, and there is more in life, okay, and I think at the end, well, we know that we are living a very complex time, okay, very complex time, difficult times in the planet. There are so many problems, so big, so complex, and I think the approach to solve these problems cannot come from only one approach, only one vision, only one perspective. Okay, so I didn't talk about in the talk, but of course, what the vision is that at the end, the collaboration between art and science will disappear. There will not be artists and scientists collaborating. There will be people like, I don't know, it's not here, the Open Systems Lab, I think there's the complex system, or I don't know, Neri, Oxfam, this kind of people that is not doing art and science together. This doing creativity using technological, science, artistic views. Okay, it's like I think the bioinformatician. They might work in the research centers. Okay, at the beginning. Now we are bioinformatics doing bioinformatics analysis for the researchers. But at the end, the researchers will have to know how to do the massive data analysis. Okay, so will disappear the difference between arts and science, as will disappear the difference between bioinformatician and experimental scientists.
Yeah, I think it's also it has to be with time, which you also mentioned in your presentation. No, like. In order to achieve like deeper changes that requires time. And residencies perhaps is this challenge that you said, no, like challenge about being too short, but then too long for extending precarity in artists, no? I mean, like it's a big effort to make a residency in terms of energy and in terms of money, but then also it's a very big effort for the artist to come and to at the end it's earning 1,000 euros per month, which is
it ends,
very, and then it ends, no, and it has to produce, and there is this this time limitation, and also I think it's a time limitation also in the scientist part, since the time that they are dedicating to this art experience is not contemplated in their careers. So as long as art and in this case art and science, or a scientific artist or whatever, is remained in precarity, there is this risk of never getting deeper to where we want to go, no? So I don't know, but I want to share in this case my experience. Since in these 2 years I've been an artist researcher in scientist centers, in the Botanical Institute first, and then in Department of Ecology in Universitat Autónoma de Barcelona, no? I don't know how I found this gap. I could do this for 2 years, and that was amazing, because it was, as you said, like being part of the staff as an artistic researcher, and then having a normal salary and be able to work not just with a deadline for production, but to deeper work in this scientific community, no? As you said, I think that's the path, but compartments in institutions don't allow that. It's very difficult. I mean, I'm finishing this postdoc, and I cannot extend it. So, and as far as I know, I am the only artist in a scientist staff. And that, for example, allowed me to work in projects that they were not in my mind. No, as you said, they were not disclosed project, which I had more or less open. But then, I don't know, in the cafeteria or talking in the while you're waiting to the printer, or other project appeared, and other collaborations appeared, which in other ways it wouldn't be possible, no, if I was just invited for a residency. So I think residency, I don't know if you agree, like they're a very good step, a very necessary step, but a step for other.
It's not the final goal to have residencies, of course. More or less the same that why I was talking about bioinformatics. Okay, I think you can hire a bioinformatician to do the work, but it's not the good thing. The good thing is to have a bioinformatician permanently in the group or in the center, okay? And even this is also not the final goal. The final goal will be that you don't need that bioinformatician, exactly. You don't need that artist, because the scientists already. But of course, these are the steps. First, residences. I vision a near future where any scientific research center will have a department of art, okay? And will be, I don't know, permanent positions of temporary positions, but temporary, permanent people talking about art and other ways of doing the thing with the scientists, and at the end, the ones that will disappear. The difference between artists and scientists. The scientists will integrate the artistic vision, or the artist will do really scientific work. Yeah. This is my vision of the in this far future.
Line, I would like to ask you. I guess you are also a teacher in university. do you explain to your in biology? I'm sorry, I don't know if it's in biology or
Biotechnology.
Biotechnology. Do you explain these cases, these artistic cases, as part of knowledge too?
Well, not as a part of the matter of the course, because I teach programming in Python to biotechnologists. So this is not, well, programming is a very artistic, very creative task. Or if any one of you program will know that. Okay, you start with a white page. Okay, white page, and I have to do that, but from now. Where did the idea came from? Okay, like art, and it's not a part of the matter of the course, but of course I don't miss the opportunity of indoctrinating the students about the importance of art.
And how do they perceive that?
I don't know. They are very young. They are very young, and they even received programming in Python. Okay, they are biotechnologists, and they say programming. What the hell I have to do programming?
And then
I want to work with in the lab. I know. If you want to be a scientist, you have to manage the data. Because the data is the result of the experiments. Okay. And they are for him. Well, there is cases. There are cases. Some of them say, "Oh, thank you, very interesting." In general, all of them see it like something interesting. I think only for the strange thing that is mixed art and science, when you are not used to talk about this. Okay, it's very strange, and they show interest, but I think more for the surprise and the strange.
We have a couple of minutes. Sorry to interrupt. Let's do a last question, then we move on. You want? Do we open to the audience, or you want to do it yourself?
I don't know. It can be open to the audience.
Can someone in the audience? Do you have a question, comment? No? So it's back to you, Paula.
Okay, great. Thank you. I wanted to ask you, like, the other way around also, like, because although we agree, that this is like just a step of getting like rid of this boundary between art and science in knowledge creation, but now in this stage it's very important, as you said, to talk about it and to have experiences, and I think that talking in class of that, even if now they don't appreciate, it's a good step, because they already then will take it more naturally, even if they want to enroll this or not. But in your colleagues, in the rest of scientists that are working with you, have you seen like more people enrolling this artistic thing, or?
Well, sure. One of the rewards of the artistic residence was that not rewards, but the surprise for me was that a lot of scientists did take as a very good thing this. At the beginning, they say, "It's so strange, an artist here," but from the first day, the artist was there explaining the way of doing things. I think generally scientists, we are open-minded, okay, and we are, because
we are
open-minded. If not, science will not progress. If you are not open-minded, the science don't progress, because you are closed, and this is what we have, and okay, and they want to have new experience, my general impression with the residents is that they have been surprised because they didn't know anything about that, and they like it. They did like it. How has changed their mind? Well, I think
It's a matter of time.
step by step,
Yes.
step by step. But a very good experience. I encourage any scientific research center should have an artistic residence now, then, a department of art.
Thank you, Javier. Thank you, Paula. Okay, now Alex May. While you get prepared,
Del consorcio que vamos a montar, ¿no?
the way Alex is an artist, the way Alex describes his practice is as follows. The art of Alex intends to questioning how our individual and collective experience of time and formation of memories and cultural record are mediated, expanded, and directed by contemporary technologies. That's how Alex describes the practice. And Alex will be later in conversation with Joan Llort. Joan Llort is an oceanographer in the BST, in the Barcelona Supercomputing Center, doing research about that thing, the mesopelagic. It's like a very urgent challenge now. And he has now some experience collaborating with very good artists in our context. So I think that will be a very good match. So Alex, please, if you are ready, you have the mic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very nice to be here today presenting to you. So if you know anything about my artwork, I tend to sort of produce these works that have multiple different layers because they all end up intersecting. And so this talk is going to be a bit like that. I'm going to be talking about a particular piece that I've just done, which is this a cabinet of intangible curiosities. I'm also going to be talking about how I use my understanding of technology and digital media and computing to engage with science, and a little sort of subtext of AI in use with digital art, because obviously as a digital media artist, as a digital artist, I can't help but sort of engage with that as a subject in my own practice. That was a slide that I meant to get rid of. Anyway, so I'm going to start here. So this is an installation that I did a few years back at the Francis Crick Institute. Francis Crick Institute is an enormous building in central London. It's the UK Centre of Genomic Research, and you've got about, I think, 2,000 scientists in there, and you know, Cancer Research UK are in there, and there's lots and lots of different areas of research. And I was commissioned to create an artwork for the front of the building. So this picture obviously doesn't do its gap, because there's this enormous building and there's my artwork down there, but this is the front entrance. So everyone who enters via the front will see the artwork. And as well as the complexity of communicating something about what happens in this building, because basically people can't, there's a function room and gallery off to the side, and then there's these security gates, and people, apart from the odd guided tour, can't go past there into the labs. But I was given kind of free range to explore the building. So it was to communicate something about that was happening in private to the people in the street outside, and it was behind glass. I couldn't use sound. I didn't want to use text because it's, you know, it's kind of the science taking place there is so fast moving and wide ranging that it would not really be conceivable to sort of communicate it in that way. So I ended up creating this digital installation, which is 28 individual video screens that can act as one screen across the whole lot, or they can act as independent video screens. When they're displaying the whole thing, it's a 15-minute video piece, which was created from video footage from around all of the labs that I was able to access in the 18 months that I spent there doing the project, mixed together with a sort of view of abstracting it in a way that suggested other things. So although it doesn't really convey it in this image, I was going for a sort of field of flowers under a sort of blue cloudy sky, but in reality they're Drosophila cells, and I can't remember, I think yeah, some sort of spectrometry imagery. So the idea was that what I'd seen behind the veil was that people were just working really hard about, and they were just all really curious. They just wanted to find out how things kind of worked. And this was the theme that I felt that I could communicate through the glass, was that to make people curious, to want to look closer. And as you approached it, there's a camera in it, and so it sensed your presence. And as you got closer, the screen started showing other video content that I filmed around the building. So scientists' hands actually doing the science. And it was that idea that the closer that you look, the more data is revealed. You know, so it was a sort of allegory on we create these machines to look closer, to look further, faster, but it just generates more data, more information, more stuff that we have to then process. I've done quite a few projects with Anna, because our sort of interests overlap quite a bit, and this was one of our projects, ARCHAEABOT, which is an underwater robot, which if anyone's done any robotics or just electronics in general, you know putting them underwater is generally a very bad idea. But we created a robot that has these sort of tails and they spin, and this was based on scientific research at Imperial College. Amanda Wilson, who's sadly no longer with us, was using cryomicroscopy to study the structure of the biological motors on these archaea, which are one of the early forms of, or the earliest form of life. We believe they sort of evolved on deep sea underwater volcanic vents. And they have these sort of motors basically that spin around. And so we had the cryomicroscopy data from them, and we were able to sort of model the sort of structure of them. And then we put it into this form. This was shown at Ars Electronica in Linz in 2018. And it became a sort of talking point around climate change, and you know, because when we talk about climate change, when we talk about protecting the environment, we're really talking about it from a very human-centric point of view. Archaea like hot, acidic seas. So if we make the planet hotter, if we make the seas more acidic, they're going to love it. They're going to be very happy. It's not going to do very well for us. So it's you know, but this idea that maybe we could build these Archaea robots and then upload our consciousness and live on as in this form raised a few questions about that. So this is a very recent work. I think this is premiered about 10 days ago in Dublin, working with Martin, who curated and managed the project. There's so this is a vertical video piece, so there's three scenes from it here. And this is using an office building as a metaphor for the body, and this is about immunology. Unfortunately, Martin's done a very good job introducing how complex immunology is, so I don't need to cover that. And how little we kind of, as lay people, how we understand kind of what's going on, and because or my personal experience when sort of growing up and learning about biology, we're told about the heart, we're told about lungs, we're told about digestion and the brain and muscles and things, but they didn't really touch on the immune system and the lymphatic system and the thymus and all these other sort of organs which basically I always thought that if you got into an accident, they could just whip them out and it wouldn't matter, that they weren't important somehow. But actually, they have these vital sort of roles within the immune system. So this piece is basically a 3D rendering CGI piece that I did all the modeling and animation and everything for. And we sort of zoom in and we see these blue figures, which are sort of supposed to sort of represent a sort of bacterial infection getting inside the body and then being dealt with by the immune system, and how that kind of operates on a simplistic level, obviously, but it's just, the idea was to sort of communicate the kind of the wonder that I felt when I learned about this basic response and what's kind of going on in me and in you and in all of us. It's absolutely fascinating, and so it's sort of to give a new appreciation. It was sort of so yeah, it was a very nice project to experience. This is another one that I did with Anna. This is on yeast biotechnology. We've got a couple of pieces, fermenting futures on the left, and this is culture on the right. And a lot of these projects involve some level of digital production. So for this one, we 3D scanned yeasts, black yeasts in a petri dish in the Boku University in Vienna, and then we 3D printed them on a much bigger scale, and so they're the forms growing on the bottle, and the bottle itself is kind of bubbling away like a bioreactor, like you might find in a lab. And cultures was all designed in 3D package, and then all the little doors and windows are 3D printed again. And actually, you can look inside some of the buildings and see furniture and lights and things. And they're covered in, so they're designed to be sort of like these architectural models, but they're covered in breadcrumb. And this was from so beginning at the back of the story, one of the scientists at Boku University was able to get the gene that causes, is it fermentation? Yeah. The mechanism of fermentation, and which only happens in one particular yeast, and she was able to take it and put it into another yeast. So this yeast became a fermenter. And then the head of the lab, who turns out to be a very avid bread maker, was able to use this to make a loaf or 2 loaves of bread in the lab, then cook them, which obviously sterilized them, and because they wouldn't be allowed out the lab otherwise. And we used that breadcrumb to coat the building. So it's a sort of story of how we emerge from the earth, the idea that we went from a nomadic people to a stationary one, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to grow crops for beer and bread. And so it's sort of telling that story. And finally, again, there's another one with Anna, which is called Physic AI Garden. And this is the one about the cancer drugs that Anna mentioned earlier, where we worked with a consortium who are using machine learning to advise medical professionals on what drugs to administer to cancer patients who are obviously undergoing lots of different physiological changes and different symptoms, and they might need to introduce a new drug, but how does that drug interact with all the other ones? And sometimes they can have detrimental results. So they're building this sort of recommendation system that allows them to have an up-to-date knowledge on which drugs interfere with which drugs and suggest alternatives. And we use the idea of a sort of physic garden, this sort of medicinal garden, where each drug was represented by a plant that was either the source of that drug or had been used to treat that symptom historically. So you can see the sort of interface down on the bottom right, which has since had a bit of a revamp. It looks a lot better now. But you can choose to plant plants that will then spring up in real time in the garden. And if they're drugs that interact badly, plants will die off. And so you can replace them with ones that are more compatible. So, which takes us to the Cabinet of Intangible Curiosities. So this was a project that I just finished the end of July at the University of Surrey with a fellowship there. And this is a project about the new science of quantum biology, which they say is the first new science of the 21st century. And this is the idea that quantum effects are happening within living biological systems to facilitate short-lived but vital effects that couldn't happen any other way. And the problem, you know, we all sort of have a sort of a sense of that quantum is this thing that cannot be sort of, you know, sensed or touched or sort of experienced in some sort of meaningful way, and that, you know, it needs to be in absolute zero to operate. So the idea that it's in this sort of wet, messy, warm environment of the body is something that it's very, very difficult to, it's nigh on impossible to look at it directly, and it's not something that we can, so we're having to sort of figure out ways to prove that it's there by looking at the sort of trace of it. And I was, in many of these projects, we're talking about effects and science that cannot be experienced by the human senses. You know, if you look back at the sort of history of science, and we've gone from, you know, things that we can see and feel and touch, and to creating early scientific instruments, you know, Van Leeuwenhoek's microscope, and to be able to see beyond our physical senses, to the point where now we're dealing with things that are so small and tiny or fleeting that we need specialized hardware to be able to record it. And I was thinking that this really divorces the experience of science, the experience of this knowledge, from being a human, you know. And so from a sort of lay audience, these intangible things that happen without our knowledge, without our understanding, quantum effects that happen seemingly, although we have the maths and everything to describe quantum mechanics very well, that quantum is always, you know, described as something that's weird and freaky and that cannot be understood. So we fear it. We fear the invisible. I mean, there was an incident in COVID lockdown in the UK where at one point people thought that COVID was being spread by 5G phone towers. So they burnt them down. There were people actually setting fire to phone towers. And I thought this was an amazing incident, that we are currently where we are in terms of, you know, our knowledge of science, and yet at the same time there are people who basically, you know, burn the witch, you know, trying to burn the thing that they don't understand. That we're not all at the same state at the same time. And these are things that can't even be intuitively understood. You know, that was a lot of the problem, you know, that I faced sort of getting into this project, is it's not an intuitive knowledge, you sort of really have to suspend a lot of logical ways that your brain might be used to working. And you're forced to engage with probabilities and uncertainties. People like absolutes. They like to know a thing and then they lock onto it and maybe they carry it. You know, even if it's not true, they'll sort of believe on it. So to sort of, you know, kind of embrace uncertainty in your life is kind of needed to engage with this sort of thing. So this piece is a collection of kind of my travel through the learning about this science. It's not an objective collection, and there are elements of history, science, and societal attitudes. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, and I'll just sort of go through this quite quickly, but the influences and design and build of this thing, because I think a lot of you know, a lot of media art, digital media art, a lot of this gets kind of hidden, and a lot of the manual parts of it are getting kind of either not done by the artist or using AI for things. Now, neither of which I say is necessarily a bad thing, but I think there is a concern which I'll get to in a little bit. Anyway, so this was all based on the idea of wonder rooms, cabinets of curiosities, private collections by the wealthy who would you know, collect these things from the four corners of the world, and then they would basically be after dinner entertainment. They would have dinner with their guests, and then they would say, "Come to my wonder room," and then they would show them these wonderful things and talk about them, and people would, you know, think about only imagine what these things might be, or because you can't store. This was before taxidermy. You know, you couldn't store like animals that look like animals, so you just have skulls and bones and these sort of remnants of them. And so I sort of worked through this kind of process, coming up with lots of sort of different ways, because I like the idea that these people were voyaging into a quantum unknown and coming back with just shadows and little effects from the quantum realm, but not the actual thing itself. They were just sort of artifacts of the thing. So, you know, sort of black boxes and double slit experiments, and, you know, and there was always a thing where they organized these cabinets of curiosities by, they grouped them into layers. So I was sort of keen to sort of do that. Now, one of the things that I do in my art practice, and I've always done this, and it's not always the best idea, but I build everything. So I've designed the cabinet, and this was so I could get a cabinet with a screen inside, and then I built all the, you know, designed all the wood parts and the inner things, and then you know, I bought some new power tools and set about, you know, cutting them up and building the frame. I'm not a good, you know, woodworker or anything, but there's something about working with the materials. And I see that as the same as working with code. It's still materials. It's still, but there's something about the physical process and knowledge that you gain from working with materials that is hard to beat. So, you know, painting, doing the whole thing, cutting the little jars in half, figuring out how to do all these things. Oh, this was the flaming 5G tower that I introduced actually into the work, because for me it's very much a symbol of this kind of fear of the uncertainty. So everything was 3D modeled by myself. You know, I spent this is how I spent my pandemic, was basically learning 3D modeling and animation. So just to give you an idea of some of what all these things mean. There's Zeno's arrow, which was this idea that, you know, if you've got an arrow passing through the air, if you took a moment of that time it would just be sort of motionless. This idea that you know, if you sort of break time down, it stops being a kind of thing that moves, and the clock next to it jumps. And these are keys to unlock the rest of the sculpture, because time is not linear, time is not experienced in the same way. So you have to accept that time is not just a forward moving thing to understand the rest of it. Spherical cows. So this joke really kills with physics people, so we'll see how we do here. So there's this joke where a farmer asks a bunch of theoretical physicists to help him get more production from his dairy farm. And they go, yeah, all right. So they go away and they come back a couple of days later. And they go, yeah, we can do it, but you're going to need a bunch of spherical cows in a vacuum. Few physicists. Anyway, so yeah, I should explain why that's in there. Because when science is often taught, they use models that are simplifications of highly complex models in order to sort of jump over them to get things done. You don't need to know everything about quantum entanglement to use quantum entanglement. So how we tell lay audiences about science, how we explain these things, often uses these abstraction, these simplified models, and they're not the real thing. They're this sort of artificial thing, but they're sort of useful tools to sort of use for communication. This was one of the experiments they were using in the lab with these sort of entangled fluorophores, that they were using DNA bases as a measuring device, and they could actually measure, place these fluorophores 10 nanometers apart, because they measured it out using DNA bases. And then if they were at a certain distance, you could fire a photon at once, and the effect, they were being entangled, which is a sort of repeatable experiment that they could use to show that there was a quantum biology effect happening there. Cloud of probability. So one of the things that I was trying to get my head around was understanding probability of where an electron would be in an atom, or, you know, because we all know like how an atom is often portrayed as, you know, a circle in the middle and then a circle around the outside with a sort of dot on it. But this idea that it could be in sort of this spherical, or this, you know, sphere form, and it's not until you actually detect it that it appears. And this means that if it's next to something very, very thin, the probability that it might be, so if you imagine this is the sphere and this is the material, there's a probability that it might be the other side of the material, which means that it can actually jump through a solid material and appear on the other side. And so I came up with this sort of idea of taking it to a sort of human scale and having this cloud that slowly passes through the building and appears on the other side to sort of communicate that, which the scientists actually really liked. And that was the bit I was really terrified by, because I was like, you know, I presented it in front of them. I didn't want to get the science wrong, but they thought that was quite a novel way of presenting it. And then the idea of sort of Schrodinger's cat, which has actually become, you know, sort of a cultural icon. A lot of the people actually, a lot of the scientists don't like it as a thing anymore. But I thought it's actually become a cultural icon, and I wanted to sort of represent this sort of cat figure. There's a sort of mummified cat statue that's spinning above it, and it's like the spirit of Schrodinger's cat that's both alive. It's alive within us while we remember it. So we are keeping Schrodinger's cat alive. The reason why it's a cat, he hated cats. He really liked dogs, but that's, yeah, apparently even though it's a theoretical experiment. Apparently, he didn't want to use a dog. So actually, yeah, just before I jump to that, so just one point that I wanted to make about all of this and this process of making things manually, and all of this stuff represents years and years and years of practice by myself. Even with my woodworking skills, as basic as they are, that's years of kind of learning how to do it, and programming, and working with photogrammetry and 3D modeling, 3D animation. And a lot of this stuff can be circumnavigated with AI tools. And we're seeing some incredible things kind of come out of AI. And I've experimented with them myself, and programming stuff especially. And what I realized is that you can get the results, but there was this vacuous feeling that I got because I wasn't making the thing and I didn't understand the thing. And I was gaining no knowledge. I was gaining no skill. I was just creating this thing. And I've often gone on about, for years, I've gone on about digital preservation, that you should be very careful about what technology you use in your art, because, you know, especially I hate Apple computers because they just update them all the time, they stop working. And it's the same with AI. If you rely on AI, any second they can just take it away or charge you money for it. So I'm not saying don't use it. I'm just saying be mindful that you don't own it. You don't own the process. You don't own the skills that you are gaining by using it. They own because you are using the thing. So not telling anyone what to do. Just from a perspective of somebody who's been doing this stuff for a long time, there's a lot of hype about these things, and they're very exciting. And we need a modicum of caution just to maintain strong artistic practices, I think. And with that, I thank you.
Okay, Joan Llort approaches the stage. Let's do the same thing, right? So we have, Joan, try to keep it 15 minutes because otherwise we are really late for lunch. So let's say at 2:20 we should be going.
I'll do my best. Is it working?
Okay. Yeah. It's working.
Thank you, Alex. Well, it was nice because during the coffee time we already spent a good time chatting, so it's like I think it's more natural now. So I did some it was funny because my teacher of quantum physics was actually Jeff, who left. I think so. I will try not to go into quantum in case he's looking here. And then I turned to oceanography because quantum and all this hard physics is a bit too much for me. So I'm more in the natural science. So I might pick questions that are not in quantum, although quantum I think is a super interesting analogy for lots of stuff that we reflect. And something that really tells me about the first work you showed, the one on the Francis Crick Institute, is that you said that. And this is the way I try to work with when I work with art, is that I always like to use data as like the primal material. And sometimes I wonder if it makes sense to explain what this data is, or maybe we can use the data just for another purpose, even without knowing what this data represents, like to give total freedom to the artist. I know you have a view on that. Maybe that's a bit too.
No, it's really key, and we always try and use the proper data, because like with ARCABOT, and I mean, it's like Anna was saying, she always uses the actual materials, the actual stuff, because it lends an air of authenticity about it, you know, because you can make something up, but just because you can make something up, it doesn't you know, and you can speak about something, it doesn't really have any, you're not sort of really engaging with it. So I mean, sometimes that presents a real challenge, like with, I did a sonification on some of the data for one of Anne's project on wine waste, and these are sort of temperature readings, and they lots of data where it moved hardly at all. And of course, that data is more challenging to work with because it's very not much variance.
There's no interest.
But if you squish it over time, you can actually, and then you squeeze it and squish it. But so you can actually get something out of it, and it is the actual data. You know, I'm not under any preconceptions that you're going to hear it and you're going to sort of understand something about it. But I can absolutely say, yes, it's the real data. Yes, it's the real stuff. And I think that's, you know, it's part of a conversation of like looking at information in different ways and maybe triggering off different ideas.
Yeah, that's interesting what you say. So there's no need for the audience to understand where the data was at the beginning. You can just create an artwork.
I mean, as you know, most data is like, it could be just graphs.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, it's actually not very interesting. But it's a bit like informatics, you know, when you're taking all this data and then, well, what if we look at it over time? What if we look at it and we wrap the years around and then you can see changes over time. So it's using a lot of those techniques and tools, and then that gives creative ideas and how that can then be utilized and presented to an audience.
And do the scientists who work with you expect some kind of communication from your works? You know, because I feel sometimes like as a provider of data, like I'm a provider of the stone, and you do a sculpture with the stone, but I still want you say that this stone is coming from this mountain on the
Yeah.
and maybe I should just provide the stone and then ask you to talk about the origin of the stone.
Well, I literally just received this. We're doing the report on this project, the Cabinet of Curiosities, and there's one of the physicist professors, Jim Al-Khalili, who you might know is quite big on the telly, and I was working with him on this, and he said. He sent this nice quote as part of this report. He said, "This field is complex and highly interdisciplinary as it requires insights from many areas of science. So for an artist to be able to gain a broad picture of the field was hugely challenging. Yet Alex somehow managed to achieve that. His beautiful Cabinet of Curiosities installation brought together the science in an evocative and profound way." And this is the important bit, that I believe helps scientists view what they do with fresh eyes. Okay. Not audiences.
That's really interesting. I think that's
you know,
point. But yeah.
The scientists see what they do with different perspective. Yeah. And I think maybe that's less talked about. But yes, it's a definite.
It was Javier's point, right? That opening scientist's mind actually as the first reward. It's never mentioned actually when you. I really like this presentation. When you're looking for money, or when I'm talking with the press department in my center, they just want you to say, what do you communicate with that? Mm-hmm. And maybe I would like to communicate that my colleagues are opening their minds, but that's not a good message to send. Yeah, because I think that we as scientists, we are really good on autocorrecting ourselves, following our own rules. These are like scientific methods. But these give us some kind of distance with society, and we usually don't accept other views, because we feel that the only way of being critics about ourselves is through the scientific method. Mm. And I like this when the artist comes and mess up the lab and messes all these views. Actually, it's providing a critical view.
We don't actually mess up the lab. We're very. No. I just want to point that out.
No, but I think that it's another critical view that sometimes can be like confronting from the scientists, but once they accept it, I think it's like. I don't know if you encountered some of these situations where people is feeling like they asking too much, or that I mean, does the relations with
No,
individual
it's
scientists always work?
absolutely
Or,
true. No, there's because you're and it's something I was sort of trying to allude to was that by the things that you do, the things that you think about, you are shaping the way that you experience and process the world. So when you're sort of developing physical and mental tools to employ upon whatever situation you're coming into. The scientists do that, and the artists do that, and everyone else does that. But so when you come together, you've got different sets of tools, but they're both useful for approaching the same problem and issues. And so they're coming at it from very different perspectives sometimes. And a lot of the time, I mean, especially with the immunology and with quantum biology, I mean, I was way back on my knowledge. I mean, I was literally having to ask the stupid questions again and again, and just like getting a headache trying to understand some of this stuff. But the point is that you're asking basic questions in a context that makes the scientist think about what you're asking, why you're asking, and then you can tie it into other things, and suddenly it flourishes in other directions. So it's not a conversation between a scientist teaching a student or a member of the audience. It's a conversation where you're looking for parallels, connections, and you make creative and scientific jumps. And it just becomes a very productive and enjoyable most of the time experience.
Yeah, from experience, you need to build some kind of trust.
Yeah.
On each other, right? Like I trust on your speaking, and you trust my speaking, and I feel that sometimes, at least from the science part, sometimes this trust is towards the artistic practice. Sometimes it's hard to get. And then there was another point that you have time. Yeah, we still have time. On the point is, I really like this analogy with the cabinet of curiosities. Like the scientists go there and bring something that is not, and it reminds me, Richard Feynman, that was one of the fathers of the quantum physics. He used to explain, he used to do the analogy that science was like looking at a chess. Looking at somebody playing chess without knowing the rules, so you just see these weird figures moving, and you need to understand all the things that are going behind there and why these players are playing like this. And we already talked about this in the coffee, but one of my lines of research in the mesopelagic that is a deep ocean ecosystem that is really hard to observe. And of course, it's not like quantum physics where you have a law that tells you that you cannot observe. But at the end, it's kind of the same for us, because what we get from there is just random samples, or one day you take a picture of a fish, but maybe there's lots of fish that don't like light and they're not there, so we will never see them, basically. I like this analogy, and I think it's really important to explain this to the audience, to the general audience in this sense. Like, so I don't know how you deal with these like complex messages. This critical view of the scientific process that an artwork can help to communicate. But the couple of experiences I had with artworks is that sometimes it's hard to find the right moment to talk about these things. These are things that happen, but it's one of these layers of the work.
Yeah. Is
there any place where you think that is a space for that? It needs to be done on the paper that you provide in the exhibition? It needs to be done
it's I think there are keys within the piece, because it's obviously I have this sort of way of approaching these things where I take these very top level things and I'm looking at the whole subject, which is really not a good thing to do, because it's completely overpowering. But I'm trying to sort of look across a subject for connections and things. And one of the things that I've experienced, and I think anyone who's worked with, well, it's, you know, anyone who has scientific discussions will be going, so we know this bit, and we know how that works, and then we have no idea how this next bit works. But then we know how that bit works, and it's like, I think sometimes you know, science carries this burden that we all assume that you know everything. And it's like, well, why? You know, so there are questions that scientists can't answer, but they don't always make sense in a way. And it's actually a lot like AI, because AI is capable of amazing things. You know, it can identify a bird from a picture or something, but actually you ask it to do some other quite simple task and it can't do it at all because it's just impossible. And it's a kind of really arbitrary sort of division between the two. So I think if people understand that scientists are, you know, sort of working to uncover, you know, sort of piece together these areas of knowledge, but there's still these sort of gaps, and we don't know everything, and we're you know, and we're just, it's just the joy of learning, the joy of understanding things, which I think is somewhat common to everyone. I mean, that was the quick piece in a nutshell. Is basically we're all curious people. We're all trying to figure out how things work, whether it's science or not. It's just something endemic to being human. So if we understand it on that basis, we can understand maybe not the details of the science, but the processes and of the science.
I think that's super important, and that's something that working with artists, I mean, that artists working on the edge of research, on research that is like cutting edge research, can help to explain these uncertainties, because very often what I see in science communication is that we just communicate the science that we know from 20 years ago, 30 years ago. The science is well established, that there's no doubt about it. And then people feel like science is always this thing that is solid, like a rock. When actually, at least personally, what I like from science is that it's not this, it's like an outlet. And
it can be challenged, and it can be
and you need to correct yourself. Maybe sometimes you publish a paper that is wrong, and that's fine. You just say it, and it's part of the work. And I think that's why it's super interesting to have artists at these stage, at this, like at the frontier of
because we're not there to give answers. You know, we're not trying to do the science communication thing and say, well, you know, here's some science and here's it in a different form that you can understand. It's like, this is complex, and then quite often what we make is complex, but it's complex in a different way and gives you a different perspective. So it's not simplifying. It's just coming at it from using different tools, different, you know, a lot of history stuff, which obviously science is you know, we're here at the cutting edge of science on this thing. You don't think, oh, well, maybe we should try that thing that was proven not to work 100 years ago. Whereas actually the stories about that are fascinating and quite often sort of come into and show us how far we've come. And that in 100 years we'll be looking about what we're doing now and going, God, did they thought that? You know? Yeah, they actually had 5G towers and they didn't realize they were giving everyone coronavirus, and they should have just burned them all down. I mean, what were they thinking?
Is there any question? Maybe is there time for
This is the last one, please.
Sorry? No.
If someone, it's nice to give the chance to the audience to have say the last word. Okay, who dares? Everyone agrees with everything. Okay, Joan, back to you. Last question.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Well, thanks. It's just something I already talked about. So, and I really like the fact of communicating complexity, because I feel that very often, for some reason, scientific communication has focused a lot on young audiences, and at least from my field, that I'm like climate oceanography, we have some really important public debates, and I mean, I think it's an important and complex situation that we need to discuss as adults, and you always enjoying this complexity, or sometimes you think, why went there, why choose this? Yeah, why went to quantum?
So yeah, it's an emotional roller coaster making these hardware. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I'm just I mean I spent spent some days up at the university. Sorry, meeting with the and just come back with a headache and just feeling lost and like I knew less than when I arrived and. But it's and then you have to go and lie down a bit, but then over time you regain a sort of equilibrium because you can feel very lost again when you approach a subject in its entirety, which is
it's such a short time.
Which is as I say, wouldn't recommend it. You have to, when you find yourself that you're kind of lost and you just there's too much information. I feel that I have to rely on an intuitive belief that my brain will find a way through it and not panic and that actually it's working and it works when I'm asleep and I just have to give it time and kind of to work through it. And that was another thing I was alluding to with the, because it's not just the stuff it's not just the knowledge, it's the way that you learn, the way that if you've been doing stuff for years and years and years and years, you stop thinking about how you're doing it and you just let yourself do it. And the ideas will come and the sense will come and your brain will sort it out if you've primed it in the right way. So the more of these projects that I do, I'd like to think I'm getting better at it, but then I keep taking on these really, really difficult subjects, quantum biology and immunity at the same time. And I'm pleased they're both done, but I love them dearly.
You haven't the same to me, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Actually, I catch up with you. It's really into sort of wild.
Oh, yes. This is the end. This is the end of the morning. Alex, Marta, Javier, Ana. I think I speak for everyone here. Thanking you. That was a lot of ideas, a lot of very interesting and original ideas. I think now we need some time to digest that, probably in the next days or weeks, but I think that's the best that you can get out of a session of one morning. So thank you, you four, and the people, Joan and Lua and Paula, and who am I forgetting? Paula, Joan, Lua, and Josep, because he left. So thank you all. We continue in the afternoon. We have the workshop that's at 4 p.m. in the Àngels Barcelona Gallery. That's al carrer dels Àngels 16. So yeah, we can be there. Thank you so much.